Hi, this is Gary Mintchell, and this is another Automation Minutes. Stay tuned. Before too long, I'll morph this podcast over to something else, probably Manufacturing Minutes, as I build my new project, and the new project is called The Manufacturing Connection. And the website will be, as soon as we get it finished, themanufacturingconnection.com. So watch for that and more of what I'll be covering. Mostly what I already covered, talk about manufacturing, technology, software solutions, and strategies. How to make manufacturing more productive, efficient, and profitable. And looking at the connection from the sensor level and the so-called Internet of Things through big data and all the MES ERP kinds of products going on, and into analytics and how we make everybody from operators to executives more successful. That'll be coming up soon. So this is April 3rd. I'm going to report on last week when I was at the ABB user conference, and the reason why I didn't report last week is because immediately from getting home from Orlando, I took off for the hills of southern Ohio, where I had no internet connection, or very little cell phone coverage, and did a lot of hiking, and that was a good few days. And then a really busy few days coming back into work. So ABB held their annual Automation and Power World. This is their 5th Automation and Power World, although before that there were 4 or 5 Automation Worlds, and I've been to all of those, and I've watched the growth of the company, which is really fascinating. I love growing companies. I love to see how they grow, and the leadership has been good. Joe Hogan has been there now for, I believe, 5 years. And and you couldn't ask for a more energetic and intelligent and forward-thinking CEO than Hogan. He really presents well. He really has the troops energized. They've come a long way at ABB. Just great. Hogan talked about the 2015 strategy during his keynote, and 2015 strategy is something brought up by the board and the executive committee, and something they're working for, and it has 5 major points. And the original one, drive competitiveness. They want to be more competitive, capitalize on megatrends, and so they identify megatrends and make sure that they're going in the right direction. Aggressively expand core business, while discipline merger and acquisition to grow the business that way too. So they don't want to just ignore the core business. So both strategies, and then exploit disruptive opportunities. Under exploit disruptive opportunities, he talked about DC. ABB has really put a big bet behind DC power transmission, and on the show floor they had a discussion of Westinghouse and Edison, 2 actors dressed up as Westinghouse and Edison, discussing or debating DC versus AC. And of course we know what happened. DC is kind of like other things that happened. DC in all is a better technology for the most part, but it had requirements that couldn't be overcome at the time. And Edison's AC technology that he saw with a central generation and then sending it out over the wire and then step-down transformers and so on, which is what we all use right now. But there's growing DC. ABB has really been pushing it for a lot of reasons. They have a couple of major projects. And Hogan made the remark that they've invented a DC breaker. And there's certain infrastructure technologies that were just lacking for really being able to do a really good DC power grid. And we're getting there. Hogan says the DC breaker changes the whole dynamic of the DC grid. So I did go see what they have in DC breaker. So a lot of DC stuff going on, and very interesting, and that's a disruptive technology in power transmission. And then the acquisition of Ventyx, Ventyx, software company that they did, shows both the disciplined acquisition and disruptive technologies. And this is an example of exploiting the coming IT/OT, information technology, operations technology, coming together, or convergence. And a lot of that stuff is stuff I want to write about in Manufacturing Connection, because silos are breaking down everywhere, and IT/OT is just one of the many silos that I see breaking down. They had a number of new products. They have the 800XA, which is their systems architecture, which they built to bring together the 7 different DCS platforms that they inherited when ABB grew by buying up all the available DCS manufacturers, I guess. And a couple things in there. some enhancements, new editor and enhanced collaboration built into it, which is very good. And also, they did this as a feature pack release, although it's a fairly major release for them. It's a feature pack release, which means that everybody who has their Automation Sentinel software maintenance subscription just got it. Instead of having to rebuy, redo, patch, everything else you have to do with a new software release. And it is very useful to their customers to be able to do that. So that's very good, very interesting. They also did some enhancements in safety, both on machine safety side and process safety side, which are very interesting, and a new line of smaller footprint DCS and components called the Freelance DCS and Compact Product Suite, and they put it all together under Essential Automation Portfolio. And something new that direction. So that's just a flavor of a few of the things that we saw on the show floor at the show. So ABB on the upswing again. They were showing good profitability, 4,800 attendees at least, and a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy. It's a joy to go to a show like that as an observer, like an editor. Switching gears, I've known and I've written about something called the Smart Manufacturing Leadership Coalition for quite some time, maybe a year or two, and I've written about it a little bit on my blog, GaryMintchellsFeedForward.com, which will soon become themanufacturingconnection.com. Anyway, I've started working a little bit more with that group. In fact, I had a conference call yesterday. I have one, I think, Friday, as we're working on explaining more about what's going on. But it's smart manufacturing, and so the idea is building a platform. And there are a lot of ideas floating around, but rather than some of these people who are coming together with a whole group of people, and they have academics, practitioners, and suppliers all coming together, and government people actually, and NIST and some other people. But unlike some of the other groups I've seen over the years come and go, like OMAC, which a couple of times got to a certain point and then plateaued, and sometimes they never even got to that point, and a few other organizations. These people were really thinking big, like, can we talk to Microsoft? Can we talk to Google? Can we talk to government and so on? And they're not just messing around. They have a real strategy, a real plan, and real thought behind this. And the news that just came out was they got a 2013 clean energy manufacturing contract from the Department of Energy. And it was worth $7.8 million for them to help them build test beds to test out the platform that they are building. So that's big news. And the chairman of the SMLC, and who's also a senior vice president at General Dynamics by the name of Dean Bartels, said, "Together we intend to transform industrial productivity and energize a new era of innovation by empowering manufacturers with real-time plant-wide workflow intelligence needed to deliver higher levels of game-changing competitiveness." Okay, there were a lot of marketing words in there, but really and truly, these are people passionate about making manufacturing more competitive and an essential, integral part of an enterprise. And I'm all for that. I'm all over that. Third thing I have is I got an early review copy of a book by a couple of Harvard professors, but it really is okay. Trust me, it's not so bad. And it's called Producing Prosperity: Why America Needs Manufacturing Renaissance by Gary Pisano and Willie Shih, S-H-I-H. And I finally got a chance to read it and go through it because I had a lot of changes in my life the last 3 months as I've transitioned from a full-time editor-in-chief with a salary to whatever I'm doing now. And it's a great book. And interestingly enough, one of the things they talk about is the concept of a commons. And that's a kind of a philosophy, economic philosophy term of an area where things all come together. For example, in an industrial manufacturing commons, you have manufacturing, design, research, manufacturing engineering, all the different things that go together to build products that customers want, design and then build things that customers want. And it takes all of them. What we discovered I think we've discovered over the last several years, we had all those genius MBAs to whom everything manufactured, everything in a company just looks like numbers. So they went to school, either they took finance or operations research, and they know everything by the numbers, and everything's a spreadsheet. And so they would look, and manufacturing is just a black box with a number, and they say, there's no value. Why don't we just move manufacturing, just outsource it? We'll spin off the manufacturing, let somebody else manufacture for us, and we'll save a ton of money, and we won't have to do any of that, and then we'll just do the design. That's the real value add, is the design. Unfortunately, they are wrong. And we've seen that with kind of almost a death spiral in American manufacturing. Well, I just got back from visiting a company just down the road. As most of you know, I live in Sydney, Ohio, and that's just north of Dayton. And just north of me is even a smaller town by the name of New Bremen. If you get the drift, I live in an area that was settled by Germans, and so that would be Bremen, and it's New Bremen because they moved from there to here. Anyway, a little town, and a company called Crown Equipment. Crown Equipment I knew as they make pallet jacks and pallet movers and maybe forklifts, tow motors, we used to call them when I worked in manufacturing. And you think, what kind of a company is that? Well, these guys are fascinating. First off, Industry Week calls them one of the two best examples of a vertically integrated manufacturing company in the United States. And I saw most of that vertical integration. I went through the component parts manufacturing and saw films from some of their other plants that aren't located in New Bremen, where they do their own injection molding. They not only design all the parts, they build all the parts, and then they design the final product, and they put the final product together, totally vertically integrated. Talked to a senior vice president of manufacturing operations, and the vice president in charge of design. It's been some time since I used to be in product development, and I took a lot of product development courses, but that was years ago, and I haven't done it for a while. It's a refreshing step back into that world of product development to see how far it's come, and the charts that they have on the wall detail the steps in their whole process, and a lot of interesting things there. And this is a commons, so that's the commons they talk about. And so what Pisano and she said was that the United States has been running what they call a high-stakes experiment for decades, and they've been betting that the erosion of manufacturing base posed no harm to long-term economic prospects because we got the intellectual property, we got the design, we got the services, we can do software. Oops, I think we sent some of that overseas too. Oh well, and so on. And he says, what do we really need? Because we've seen things going down. They said what we really need is infrastructure. And they state today's industrial commons consists of webs of technological know-how, operational capabilities, specialized skills that are embedded in the workforce, competitors, suppliers, customers, cooperative R&D ventures, and universities. You need the universities feeding people in. Competitors, actually people leave one and go to the other and start up new things and all that kind of, there's all that kind of stuff that goes on. It just fertilizes the whole commons around some particular industry in the manufacturing. And so you need to have that. And they talk about this didn't really happen. The erosion didn't happen by some kind of invisible hand, but by conscious decisions made by managers and policymakers, and that we need to turn that around and so on. And they talk about something a lot of people don't talk about. I don't know why they don't, but a lot of times we talk about boosting economy and boosting profitability in manufacturing and so on. We get into management versus labor, everything. It's kind of like if we're trying to grow the overall economy, we need to grow the economy for everybody. So everybody needs a piece of the pie. So as companies are more profitable, it provides better incomes for the workers and so on. So anyway, producing prosperity, Pisano and she. I recommend it. Look it up and get the book and digest it. And Saturday, I'm heading to Hanover, so my next report will be from the Hanover Messe, and we'll see what's going on overseas. So until then, this is Gary Mintchell, the Manufacturing Connection, and I'll talk to you later.